So basically, before we get started, because this is going to be a little bit different for me because I typically um, kind of do this like Joe Rogan, where usually when I have guests on in the automotive detailing industry, even though sometimes we do talk topics, is I
Mhm.
just kind of let it be very free flowing conversational.
Yep.
The reason why when Jen had reached out to me and I thought like, okay, cool, let's maybe try and get something with you coming on is because I think it's something that not only myself but a lot of people that I'm talking to right now in the detailing industry, especially here in the States, but I do hear a little bit of it from some of my counterparts in the UK. Not so much the guys that I know in Australia because I do Australia is like surprisingly like I rank third and well not I rank third, but Australia is like the third most country of listens for my podcast. So I do have
Really?
a pretty decent followership down in Australia. But what I'm kind of noticing again for myself and then people I'm talking to here in the States is we just don't know how to market correctly. Some guys are hitting it out of the park, you know, AdWords, Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Yeah.
And other guys are trying to replicate it, and it just doesn't hit, like I've done the same. I've done AdWords for kind of a long time, and part of it might be like I probably don't throw enough money at it because it's Google and they want all your money and everything.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm a small business, so for me, this is kind of a lifestyle business. So I'm not trying to scale. I'm not trying to grow. I'm just trying to do enough, right? Whereas some of my buddies are trying to grow exponentially,
Yeah.
and increase and things like that. And so they'll do AdWords and they'll throw a lot of money at it, and it doesn't hit, and then this guy over here is doing Facebook ads and it's working, and then so everybody's like scampers over to Facebook, and then we try doing Facebook and it doesn't work, and then this guy's like, hey, I'm doing Instagram and it works, and then we're all like,
Yeah.
okay, over here to Instagram. So
Yeah.
so when she reached out to me, I was like, you know what? Like maybe this will be a good thing. Maybe you'll have some clues or some tips or some things or whatever. And honestly, listening to that episode earlier, um, the giveaway thing was kind of ingenious. Like I don't necessarily know that detailers would give away a free vacation for a detail, but I liked what you had mentioned with the dealership. I think it was a dealership, and it was a way to kind of capture kind of emails, and it's like, hey, come do a test drive and win a whatever, right? And you
Yeah.
even had mentioned that maybe some smaller businesses could give away a service. So that made me think like maybe I do something where I do a Facebook ad, hey, win a free detail.
Yep. That's it.
And then everybody who signs up, like you said, right? Like I pick one, I give it away, I do justice, right? But then everybody else who signed up, hey, you didn't win, but tell you what, here's $100 off
Yep.
service or
That's
something
it.
like that. So I,
Yep.
I did I did like that when I heard that. So
Do you
yeah.
have a car? Do you have a car detailing service yourself? Do you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's my primary business. Like I said, it's a lifestyle business for me, but it is my primary business is car
Yep.
detailing. And so the podcast is, a primarily a car detailing podcast. We have had some other topics or things that popped up, and we've talked to some people, but primarily we try to keep it to this. So again, that's why I thought maybe you would be a great guest to come on and maybe shed a little light in to some of us that are having a tough time figuring
Mm.
out this marketing thing.
Yep.
Maybe the AdWords isn't working for us. Maybe the Facebook isn't working for us. Maybe whatever. So, to hear kind of your expertise. So, think the first thing to do would be to introduce you, obviously, to my guests.
Mhm.
So for everybody who's listening, this is John Dwyer, and John, you have the what is it? It's the Wow Institute, is that correct?
Yeah, it's called the Institute of Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Institute of Wow. My bad. I dyslexia got it all backed up there.
Oh, look, I wanted to get the Wow Institute 20 years ago, but it was already gone.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, just for my listeners that are listening, who probably don't know who you are, give us a little bit of background. Or what's your business and what services do you provide and things like that.
Yeah, look, it's a direct response marketing business, and I always highlight to people that direct response marketing is very different from marketing. And the reason I do that is because it's not about brand building. And it's great if you build your brand, but direct response marketing is putting an ad on Facebook or Instagram today and getting a result this afternoon. So that's what direct response is, as the name infers. And yeah, look, I've been doing this, for 1,000 years. And what I found is that in America and Australia and England, 94% of businesses are doing less than $1 million turnover. And so therefore, those businesses more than likely are mum and pop businesses, or maybe they might have 5 or 6 or 7 employees, but they don't have a marketing manager. They just don't.
Right.
And so therefore, they're always looking for ideas to, turn ideas into cash pretty quickly. And that's where we come into play. So the stuff that you would have heard on other podcasts is pretty much a rinse and repeat of what I do when I'm doing one of these interviews. It's just essentially teaching business owners to stop price discounting and to think about a new way of attracting customers. And normally that's through what we call an incentive, but I call it a Happy Meal toy. So,
Right.
yeah.
And I like that you said that about stop discounting, because again, I feel like since the COVID years, um this industry, along with others, has just gotten flooded with new people coming in, because either they lost their jobs to COVID, and hey, what's a easy entry level to get job to get into, landscaping, car detailing, house cleaning, things of that nature. You can do pretty, there's a low bar of entry for it. And so what I've found is, and what I'm hearing when I talk to some people, is it's like, oh man, the guy up the street just popped up and he's doing, whatever for $200 cheaper than I am. So now I've got to discount my prices to try, and instead of everybody doing what the rest of the world does, or detailing doing what the rest of the world does, of increasing prices as we go on, everybody is racing to the bottom, it almost seems like. And it's and to me, and a lot of professionals that I talk to, is when you do that, you're devaluing your service.
Yep.
So my whole thing is, and kind of like what you said with the Happy Meal toy, is I'm always trying to find that way to maybe give a little without discounting, you know?
Yep. Yep.
So I like that premise. So for everybody who's listening, how would a detailer, and I know you kind of talk to multiple businesses, from super mega million banks to mom and pops, like what would be your advice to do a Happy Meal toy, as you say, versus discounting or racing to the bottom?
Yeah, look, the Happy Meal toy needs to be something that suits the target audience. And so I'm a baby boomer. So you can imagine if I went into a menswear shop and they said, look, buy a suit or buy a sports jacket or buy a shirt and we'll give you a skateboard, then they're barking up the wrong tree. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And so therefore it's called message to market match. You want to have the right message to your market, of course. And over the years, we've tested every incentive, every Happy Meal toy that you could possibly think of. And the reason I say Happy Meal toy, I'm the father of 6 millennial children. They've all left home these days, but we had 6 children under 12 at one stage. And I think I gave McDonald's, my wife and myself gave McDonald's about $7 gazillion just to keep the little rats, to keep them quiet in the back of the car,
Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't think the kids ever ate the hamburger. It was all about the free toy.
Yeah.
And so if you get it right, it's something which you can rinse and repeat for the rest of your business life, because McDonald's have been doing the Happy Meal toy giveaway for 45 years. Kellogg's have been doing the same thing in the bottom of their cereal packs for
Yep.
50 years. Dunkin' Donuts are doing it right now, where when you spend money with them, you get points, and then you can redeem those points. Amazon do it through their Prime membership club. If you wanted to join their Prime membership club, then you get special features such as free music and free movies and so on and so forth. So even your local coffee shop down the road does it, where
Yeah.
you get nine stamps on your little reward card and you get the 10th coffee for free. The crazy thing about it, though, is that 97% of businesses worldwide have never, ever, ever offered an incentive, because it's too easy just to drop their pants and price discount, which is nuts. Absolutely crazy.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you're right. I mean, I think about it all the time. I mean, I go to Chick-fil-A. I use my points because I know, like, every so many visits, I'm gonna get a free whatever. The girl who cuts my hair, she has a little hand punch thing, and every 10th one I get or actually I think it's every 5 I get a half off, and then the 10th one I get a free one.
Yep.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, and I like what you said. It's easier to do that than to drop your pants and do a price discount. Kind of
Yeah.
screwing yourself, because that's the one thing I always tell people is, like, it's sure, it's easy to just discount and to get the client in, but then you'll never be able to get that client to pay more than when you finally get to a point, or whatever. They're not going to pay more than that because they've always only paid whatever. So it, with the direct response marketing kind of thing, I mean, is it really, any business could do it? So, like, the small detail guy, can do it versus like a big Amazon or McDonald's?
Yeah, look, I was speaking at a conference in Santa Monica. I've been to America a gazillion times, and it was a conference in Santa Monica on the West Coast. And the guy in the room put his hand up and said to me, "I own a funeral parlor business. Will it work for me?" I said, "Look, I reckon it works for just about every business, but I don't think it would be tasteful if you said, look, give me your relatives to burn, and once I've burnt 5 of your relatives, you get a free headstone." I don't think
Yeah.
that would be, yeah. So aside from a funeral parlor, pretty much any business, I mean, A to Z, we've been providing this stuff for businesses for a long time. And yeah, I mean, any business. The thing is that if you do price discount, there's nothing wrong with doing that maybe once or twice a year. You've got to move the warehouse of stock, or in your instance, the car detailers, and so therefore they have a cash flow problem. They want to get more cash in quickly.
Right.
Nothing wrong with doing that a couple of times a year. It's just that if you do it all the time and you become, the Costco of your industry, you're not going to be able to ever lift your prices, because you've conditioned everybody to your car dealer, detailing price. And if you said to me, look, what was the most successful incentive of all time? No question, vacation. And the reason I say that is that we had a bank down under called the Greater Building Society. So near enough a bank, it's a building society. And I was contracted by them to come up with, a direct response campaign. And the one that we came up with, because I was doing some TV commercials at the time for a travel wholesaler, I introduced the travel wholesaler to the bank, and we put a campaign together which said, get a home loan, or swap your home loan from Wells Fargo across to this bank. We don't have Wells Fargo down under, but the equivalent of.
Yeah.
So swap your home loan across, and we'll give you a free vacation. And they took an extra $15 billion worth of home loans within the first 3 years. And this
Wow.
idiot who you're talking to didn't charge a percentage of the increase in loans. I'm a complete fool. I charge a consultancy fee. So if I charged a percentage of the increase in home loans, I wouldn't have gone to Hawaii. I would have bought Hawaii.
Right.
But anyway, it went really well. And about 3 or 4 years into that, I convinced Jerry Seinfeld to become their spokesman. I'm name dropping, I know, but the fact is we got Seinfeld to be the spokesman. And I would fly backwards and forth to New York, and Jerry would do all the ads for us. So when Jerry Seinfeld comes on TV down under on social media and says, get a home loan from this bank and you get a free vacation, you can imagine what happened. And as a result of that, a company contacted me after that campaign, because it's pretty hard to keep it secret when you got Seinfeld. And they said, listen, you seem to have half a clue when it comes to marketing. We've got access to unsold hotel rooms around the world. And these hotels outside of school vacation period are happy to give up their rooms for free in the hope that whoever stays there as a freebie guest might spend money on food and beverage. There's no timeshare presentations or any of that rubbish. Basically, the hotels outside of school vacations are happy to give up the rooms because they hope whoever stays there is going to spend money on food and beverage. And I said, yeah, go on. And they said, well, do you know what to do with that for businesses? I said, yeah, absolutely. I'll turn it into the Happy Meal toy from heaven. And this was 6 months before COVID. And so we launched it, and we just said to businesses, car detailers and butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, how would you like to get 50 vacation vouchers for $97 each? And you give them away when someone uses your lawn mowing service, or someone buys your refrigerator, or someone uses your car detailing, sorry. And it went nuts, absolute nuts. My head became huge because this was a money tree. I'd put ads on Facebook, and we would just get absolutely smashed with businesses saying, look, I want this as a Happy Meal toy. And I think my sarcasm hit a peak when my wife said, you've been working hard, let's go to Fiji. I said, don't go there, buy the island, So God was watching and saw that my head was too big and thrust COVID upon the world.
You're the black.
That's my fault. That's my fault for showing off, thinking I had the retirement package. So we had this incredible travel product that was going nuts. And of course, for the first time in 100 years, you couldn't travel. So I learned my lesson. So we sat on our hands for a couple of years. But I have to say to you, if any car detailer is looking for a Happy Meal toy, then yeah, a vacation is the hottest on the planet, and purely and simply because everyone wants one.
Yeah. So let me ask you about those, because, when I see those kind of things, I always think like, it's too good to be true. Like there's going to be blackout or or, you can only go on the second Tuesday of every week, kind of thing, So as a detailer, because here's the thing. You're saying, you could buy them at $97 a piece. Basically, for me, I can offer that to one of my ceramic coating clients that's going to pay me $2,000. So to take $100 out of that $2,000 to basically maybe guarantee me a sale, hey, buy a $2,000 ceramic coating and get a free vacation, or a staycation here in Orlando. And all I'm putting out is $97. Doesn't sound like a bad deal, but like, how does that actually work? When you're giving it to a client, or even I can't speak, offering it to a client.
Well, it gets better because when I'm doing podcasts, if this subject comes up, I always say to people, I'll give you my email at the end of this, and if they are interested, they get it for $32, not $97. So it becomes a lot more crazy. Okay. And the reason that we do that is that our inventory is free. Okay, so if you're bringing in a television from China and it costs you $200 and you mark it up to $400 or $500, if you give it away for anything less than $200, you've lost money. The thing with this product, it's built for price variability because the cost of goods is free. We get the hotel rooms for free. So all I've got to do is I've got to cover my overheads, which generally speaking is Facebook advertising or LinkedIn advertising, okay, and my operational expenses. If I'm on a show like yours, I don't have any Facebook advertising costs. I don't have really any costs at all. And so what I do to basically incentivize people to consider doing it is that I actually provide them with a deal whereby it's 3 for 1. We just say to them, listen, if you buy 30 of these things at $97, which is, $2,900, we'll give you a 3 for 1 deal. We'll give you 90 of them. And that means is if you're getting 90 vouchers for the cost of 30, you're not paying $97, you're paying $32. And that normally lights up the switchboard, so to speak, because people go, oh my God, I can at $32. And by the way, it's a 3 to 7 night vacation. You've got destinations like Vegas and Orlando and New York and San Diego, Grand Canyon. All the hotspots. Cancun in Mexico is 5 nights, right throughout Europe if they want to go to Italy or Germany or Spain or anything like that. So it's pretty sexy. And when they rang me just 6 months before COVID, I said exactly what you did. I said, look, I'm in the advertising game. I've seen every travel scam there is, right? And this sounds ridiculously too good to be true. And they said, no, all it is what the airlines used to do before the cheap airlines came along. Remember, people would sit in a waiting lounge, and then it was basically the hostess would come out, and when there was 10 seats vacant in the plane, she'd say, okay, all of you people in the waiting lounge in your pajamas without teeth, we have 10 seats, all right, come on in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, those days are gone. When the cheap airlines came along, they scooped up all of those people, and there was no catches to that. They were filling the seats that other people had paid good money for. This is the same thing. When they are outside of school vacation periods, most hotels are running at about 30% vacancy. 30% vacancy. So the hotel believes that if they've got 30% of their rooms vacant, they may as well give that room away for free in the hope that whoever stays there will spend money on food and beverage. The good thing for the hotels is that this is under the radar. So when you hand a voucher to your, car detailing customer, that customer goes online to a, booking platform. They book their vacation. When they arrive at the resort in Orlando or Las Vegas or wherever it might be, no one recognizes them as being any different from any other full-paying guest. So the beauty for the resort's not dropping its pants and wrecking its brand. It actually is filling rooms under the radar, and that's what the hotels want. They don't want to destroy their brand by dropping their prices. They would like to just fill the rooms through promotions like this, and then, of course, make money out of food and beverage.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, so it's making it out like they're not treated any different because they got a free room or anything like that. It's just, status quo, business as usual or whatever. Yeah. No, that's interesting.
Oh, by the way, you asked the question. There are no timeshare presentations. I mean, I would have run the other way. I said to these guys, look, it sounds pretty sexy, but if there's a timeshare presentation, I'm out of here. They said, no, none of that. Look, there's conditions, of course. I mean, they won't be able to go in school vacation periods. So, it's available on an availability basis. So if you go into the booking platform and you wanted to go to Vegas on, let's just say the 4th of August, and 4th of August happens to be conference week in Vegas, every hotel's booked out for conferences. And of course, but that's the same as if you were going to book and pay full tariff. If you're going to pay $300 or $400 for the room, it's available on an as available basis. So therefore, you just make sure that you don't go when the racing car track is full.
Right. See, and that's the interesting thing for me for being here in Orlando. Like, it would be a perfect staycation for me to kind of offer, because I could literally offer somebody a free hotel stay, and it doesn't really cost them anything else. They're not paying for the airfare, or they're not paying, any other travel stuff, because if they're here, and it could be a staycation weekend, like, hey, drop the kids off.
No, you can't. You've got to be 100 miles away from the hotel.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, the reason for that is that if you are in Orlando and you stay in Orlando, you won't eat at the hotel. You'll go to your favorite restaurant down the road.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they've worked out that, they want tourists. And look, the 100-mile condition is, nobody's ever complained about that, because normally, if I live in Sydney, Australia, I don't want to go for a vacation in Sydney. So that's one of the conditions, is that you need to be 100 miles away from where you're going, and that's as the crow flies. So when you actually go onto the booking platform to book your 3 or 4 or 5 nights, whatever it might be, it will immediately tell you straight away if you're within 100 miles from that hotel, because they want tourists. They don't want locals who will spend money at the restaurant.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense then. Yeah.
Look, when I turned it upside down because I thought it was ridiculously good to be true, too good to be true, I was very pleasantly surprised. I've seen every incentive program, and we've given away microwave oven, skateboards, dining vouchers, fuel discount vouchers, movie ticket vouchers. I've tried everything. And not just because the Seinfeld campaign proved it to me with the bank, but just in general, I've never seen anything like it. It can double or triple people's sales straight away, because the reason McDonald's Happy Meal toy works is because that toy, I know McDonald's gets for 20 to 25 cents in China, but to a mum and dad who are buying a Happy Meal for their child, they see that toy as being worth $4 or $5 in Kmart. So the important factor is that it's a very low unit cost for the business, but a high perceived value. In this instance, this is worth up to $1,000. 3 nights in Orlando, you can imagine that, it'd be certainly worth up to $1,000, but it's costing them, $97 normally, but $32. Anybody wants to have a look at it, go and have a look at vacationsincentive.com. Just plural vacations with an S, vacationsincentive.com.
Yeah. No, and it's interesting because, growing up, I remember, it felt like that was a big marketing thing with a lot of car dealers. I mean, almost you name it, was come down and do a test drive, or come down and do a whatever, or come to, whatever, insert the whatever thing, and you got a vacation. And it seems like it's not um as used as much as it used to be, in the form of not even a vacation, but even just a thing, right? Like now it's just, whatever, here's our deal, come on down, kind of thing. And there kind of isn't that incentive, or that toy. I mean, McDonald's still does it in the Happy
Mm.
Meals. I know that because my kid is about to be 16, and up until probably within the last year or so, she would still want to go to
Mm.
McDonald's and do Happy Meals, because she liked the smaller meals. She wouldn't eat a bigger meal. She liked the smaller
Yeah.
meals. So, not that she wanted the toy, but we would still get the toy. But I don't necessarily know that Kellogg's even does the toys and the cereals anymore. The occasional times that we get cereals, it doesn't really seem like there's anything in them anymore, um, or anything like that. So it is. Do you think like we made a shift from doing that, or is it just a different type of marketing these days?
No, I mean, what happens is that sometimes a left-brained person will take over the marketing role. Now, by left-brain, I meant someone who's analytical and operationally minded. Most accountants are left-brained,
Yeah.
rather than right-brained, which is the creative person, and that would be me. I hate looking at spreadsheets, despite the fact I've got to. And so, therefore, if a left-brained person takes over the marketing role, then they will say, oh, this is an expense, and so therefore let's get rid of it, instead of looking at it as an investment and keeping it.
Right.
Uh, in the advertising game, if you went to an advertising agency which was run by bearded hipsters and ponytailed creatives, they will tell you that you've got to build your brand so that people will fall in love with your product. Okay.
Right.
Well, build your brand so that they'll taste your product. We flip that. We say get them to taste your product so that they'll fall in love with your brand. And the best way to get them to taste your product would be, for example, outside a seafood shop, I would have hostesses there handing out calamari samples at lunchtime and dinner time, so that whoever walked past would get a calamari sample and taste it and go, that's beautiful. They'd go inside the seafood shop and spend money on, more expensive fish like barramundi, all right?
Yeah.
If I had a coffee shop, I'd be giving out shot glasses and little paper cup shot glasses of my coffee at lunchtime and dinner time as well. The whole idea of this is to actually not only get the attention of people who may have been getting their car detailed anyway, but also get the attention of people who weren't thinking about getting their car detailed. You can imagine if they're scrolling through their Facebook feed and they're scrolling, and all of a sudden your car detailing business says, listen, stop. If you get your car detailed from me, we've got a special April, May, June, whatever it is, offer for X dollars. And what comes with that is a free vacation to Vegas or New York, wherever you want to go. I
Right.
think that might stop the scroll.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. But I like the almost kind of like the taste test sampling that you're talking about. With you walk by and you get so have somebody standing out there with a little sample. I remember, growing up, and you'd walk through the mall, the food court in the mall, and all the little, you know, quote unquote restaurants, I don't know what to call them, because the fast food places, whatever, they would do that, especially like the Chinese food place would always have, like, toothpicks with their bourbon chicken or whatever. You walk by, and the sub place has got, little cheesesteaks, on toothpicks or whatever. um Without doing something as large of a getaway, as a getaway kind of vacation. Because to me, I would say, if I was going to use that as a marketing tool, again, I would do it more in line with like my ceramic coatings, my $1,500 and up kind of packages. But if I wanted to get people kind of in the door, like you say in your thing, right, like get them in the door now, make money tomorrow kind of thing, versus the plant the seeds and we'll wait and see kind of advertising.
Yep.
Like, as a detailer, like, what kind of sample things would you maybe say, like, hey, you offer with a whatever?
I'll give you an idea. I can't guarantee much in life because obviously,
Right.
yeah, there's only the big guy upstairs can do that. But this is almost a guarantee that if you are a car detailer and you do what I'm just about to tell you, there's a good chance you'll double your business within 30 days. Do you reckon that would have got the attention of someone who's watching or listening? Okay.
I'm already paying attention. So
Yeah. So, and this is something we only launched actually probably, I don't know, 6 months ago. I'd been doing this forever, but didn't realize what I was sitting on. And we call it the Facebook contest formula. And basically, it's giving away your product or service on Facebook. So therefore, it's a paid advertising, but the advertisement actually gives away a car detailing package worth whatever. Okay. And what that attracts is people who want their car detailed. You don't enter a contest to win a car detailing package if you don't want your car detailed. All right.
right.
So first of all, you're attracting a warm audience, if not a red hot audience. You say, listen, we're going to draw this in a week's time or 2 weeks' time. So basically, click the ad, they go through to a landing page, and on that landing page, you collect all of the data that you normally would want to collect, their name and their contact details and so forth. And of course, even their make and model of the car, whatever it might be. You give one away, but then you've got 100, 200, 300, 1,000 people who put their hand up, glowed in the dark, and said, I want my car detailed. So you don't get a hotter audience than that. And then what we do is that we suggest that you would contact all of those people. And if you can't do it, we have a robot that'll do it for you within an hour. And they basically say to the people who entered the contest, look, you didn't win, but I've got some good news for you. That particular package that you're talking about, that you entered the contest to win, we've got a special deal on that this week, that it's normally this, but now this. But if you get in by Friday, we will give you a free vacation. So not only has it created through the funnel a red hot lead because they entered. We do it just 2 weeks ago for a dentist. I said to him, who do you want? He said, obviously, people with crooked teeth. I said, good, okay. Well, how about we give away one of your Invisalign products, and that's the invisible braces without the metal teeth anymore, with the metal braces. And they're worth about $5,000, but to him, it's only $2,000. So we ran a contest for parents in basically the geodemographic area around where his dentist practice was. And we said, well, how would you like to win braces for your children's teeth? Now, anyone who entered that was a parent with a child with crooked teeth. You don't want to win braces if you've got perfect smile.
Right. Yeah.
He got just under 1,000 entries in the first week. We're talking 1,000. Okay. He only spent $30 a day, $30 a day on Facebook. So 7 times 30 over a week is $210. He got just under 1,000 leads. And then his staff would ring the people after they given one away and say, look, you didn't win, but we have a special deal for you. Those invisible braces were normally this, but this week is this. And if you get in by Friday, we'll give you a free vacation. Shut the gate. It's all over.
Wow. And just out of curiosity, like, how do you, or what do you recommend as a way of like actually picking one, right? I mean, like, my thought would be I would just put them all in probably like a Google random generator and pick a number that way kind of thing. Or, I mean, I have seen, kind of thinking back on it, when I first got into detailing, when I left the car wash and opened my own detail shop, there was a guy in town who he did do a very similar thing. He offered a free service and had everybody like send them, what type of car they had. And honestly, I think he kind of picked based off of like coolness factor of the car. I think he picked somebody with a very expensive car that could probably easily afford the service that he was giving away. Just because then it looks good in pictures and stuff like that. I mean, I would think Google random generator, but what is your take on that?
That's what I would not spend any more than 10 seconds thinking about it because no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
And how you draw I would just use a random generator, pull someone out. I mean, the cheeky people out there might like to choose someone. I mean, if it's a contest, which is a game of chance, it should really be a random
Yeah.
pick. If it's a game of skill where they've got to write 60 words or less of why they would like to win the car detail, you don't want to go there. That's
That's too much. They would have lost me right there. I'd have been like, I'm out. I don't know.
Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, there was a turf farm that we had some years ago. And this is not just of recent times, some years ago. So he had a turf, as in grass. He would grow grass for landscapers.
Right.
And the landscapers would then sell that to consumers, of course, for their front yard or backyard. I just said to him at the time, what do you think would be a good Happy Meal toy for landscapers? Now, 99.9% men. He said, you tell me. I said, beer. And so what we did, we picked a prestige beer down under. It won't mean anything to you guys, but it's called Crown Lager. So it's a very prestige beer. And we just said, look, for every home's worth of grass that you get from my turf farm, instead of going down the road to another turf farm, we will give you a carton of beer. And he rang me about 6 days after we launched this, and obviously, sent out to an email list of landscapers. And he said, I've got a problem. I said, oh, God, haven't we all? What's your problem? He said, I've got no more grass. He said, we've been through like 3 miles worth of grass in 1 week.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and he said your incentive works so crazily well, and talk about perfect message to market match. I mean, alcohol for a landscaper. By the way, because you're into cars, I would not recommend this as a Happy Meal toy for you guys. But but he just said, look, we just wiped out 3 miles worth of grass because his turf farm went on for miles and miles and miles. He said, we just moved 3 miles worth of turf in 1 week. He said, this is I've never seen anything like it. So he said, one guy who was a pain in the ass client, he said he used to always ring me up and say, oh, you're $6 per square meter. I can get it for $5.50 down the road. And he said, I'd have to drop my price. That same guy rang up and said, I want 18 homes worth of grass. I don't care when the grass gets here, but I need the beer by Friday. I've got a party.
Nice. Okay, so I don't know if I know my Australian perfectly, but I'm surprised you guys didn't use Dixon cider.
Yes, we should have.
That's an Australian brand, correct? All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I should have done that.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, the thing is that can you imagine if you have if you give away a car detailer package, and let's just say it's a value of $1,000, okay?
Yeah.
Then the point is that if you give one of them away each week, and you need to give them away quickly because you've got to have the facility to be able to contact these people very soon after they've entered the contest. So don't run a contest that goes on forever.
Right.
And if you want to have a look at this, by the way, we've put it into a little package. It's FB for Facebook, fbcontestformula.com. So if you go to fbcontestformula.com, that'll show you how to do it. You just steal the idea. You don't need me involved. You can do it yourself if you wanted to. But the thing is that, it attracts warm, if not red hot prospects because, as I said, the classic one was it was a walking frame business recently. He sells walking frames to people maybe in the 70s and 80s. He insulted me by asking if I'd like to do a contra. So I told him I hoped he died in his sleep. But anyways, what we did is we said, win a wheelie walker. Why they put wheels on these things for people who can't walk straight, I don't know. But anyway, win a wheelie walker worth $500. He had 820 leads in 1 week. Again, all he spent was $30 a day in Facebook ads. He had 820 leads. He gave one away, and he had 819 people who just glowed in the dark, put their hand up and said, I want a walking frame.
Wow. So is it better to do it as maybe started on a Monday, ended on a Friday kind of thing? Just do it for a week and then turn around, bam, pick your winner, announce it, and then start contacting those other leads. Now, let me ask you this, like with those people that had success with the turf farm guy, the walker guy, what was their conversion? As far as do you know what their conversion was with the other people that entered? So the 800 and however many people that entered for the wheelie walker, what was his conversion on that? If you have any idea?
Yeah, no, some people tell us, others don't, but they think that we're going to pass it on to all of their competitors, which is not the case. But anyway, we get the statistic. If they happen to be a consulting client of ours, so they're hanging around with us all the time, they're more open to providing us with details, of course. If they're not, then they don't know us from Adam, so therefore they like to keep that to themselves. But the one with the walking frame, for example, he had his girl, who was basically the secretary of the PA, she rang 100 of the 820, and she had a conversion rate of 9%. So therefore, she closed 9% of those, and she couldn't go any further. It took her 3 days to get through 100 of them, because you ring people and they had a voicemail. You had to ring back and ring. So we just put our AI robot onto it, and we rang the other 800 in the space of 2 hours, and the robot got a 14% conversion rate.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So we have an arm that we've just launched recently called AIGenienow.com. So basically what it is a telephone receptionist service, whereby we can answer the phone. Our robots can answer the phone for any business. If you can't, I'm perfect for car detailers, because obviously they can't get to the phone a lot of the times. And that call that you missed could have been a $2,000 job. So what happens is, for I think it's $297 a month we charge, so it's not very expensive. But basically, the robot answers the phone, has a human-like conversation with the people. So therefore, 78% of people don't know it's a robot. I say robot; it's an AI agent, but most of us understand, robot. And so therefore, if someone can't ring up all of the people who entered the contest, then we just get the outbound version of the robot to ring them and see if he or she can close more than the human.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's always a pain in the ass in my day. And I think a lot of my fellow detailers listening to this will probably agree, is, right as soon as you put the polisher onto the paint and start spreading it in, the phone rings, and you're like, like, do I stop? Do I keep going? Do I miss the phone call? So yeah, I could definitely see where something like that would definitely be very beneficial.
But nobody leaves a voicemail. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but not a lot of people leave voicemail anymore. Because they're on Google, they'll just go to the next car detailer. If
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
the crazy part about it is that we've partnered with an American company to put this together. So we're way down under, but we've partnered with a company on the West Coast, and basically what happens is that we still make margin in the $297 a month. So it's a $297 a month subscription plan,
right.
And your phone will be answered 24/7. And 78% of people have no clue that it's a robot. They think that it's a human. And you can pick either a male or female. You can inject a personality into it. So you can say, look, I want it to be like Conan O'Brien. Or if you happen to be an accountancy practice, then you say, okay, well, I'd like it to be very, strict and very regular and very disciplined. So the good part is you've got the cleverest staff member in the world answering your phone for 24 hours a day, which of course you can't do. I mean, someone rings about car detailing at midnight.
Yeah, for less than $1 a day.
For less than $10 a day. So it's $297 a month. So that's $9
a month. My bad. Yeah.
I mean, you try getting a human for 24 hours for $10.
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you this though. Can I get it to answer all my wife's phone calls? I don't have to talk to her. Can it deal with my wife when she calls me? Just
I think if I could program it to do that, then I think I'd probably be using it myself too.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So listen, I want to ask you, because you did mention it earlier. You did name drop, and I want to give you a little bit of time. So, like, how do you get Jerry Seinfeld? Like, how do you know Jerry Seinfeld? Where do you meet Jerry Seinfeld to be like, hey, you want to do a commercial down under for me? Or was it like, hey, Jerry Seinfeld, do a commercial for me, I'll give you a free vacation?
No, I don't think he needs a free vacation. Look, what happened is that we did a survey, but with bank customers and non-bank customers, and said, look, who would be a spokesperson who you think would fit this brand? Again, it needs to be messaged to market match. Okay.
Right.
So therefore, we would not be looking for P. Diddy, for example. Okay, we're looking for someone. This particular brand.
I don't think anybody's looking for P. Diddy to do any kind of marketing, right?
I don't think so. Not at the moment. So we're looking for someone who is probably going to be funny and a bit cheeky, because the brand that we had created was a cheeky brand. So our TV commercials and online presence would say, I mean, I was a consultant to them.
Yeah.
As if I was working for them. The brand was, look, why would you give all your details to someone like the Wells Fargo Bank, when in fact they don't treat you like a person, they treat you like a number, they charge all of these fees and they don't really care who you are, right? Swap across to the Greater Building Society, where we will treat you like a person. We don't have any of those ridiculous banking fees, and guess what? We give you a free vacation. So it's a very good Coke Pepsi comparison.
Right.
And what had happened, it had been doing very well for a few years, and the guys who ran the bank said to me, my name's John Dwyer, but I get JD. They said, well, okay, JD, smart Alec, you've got a few runs on the board. We've scooped up all the low-lying fruit, which is basically working class people, because that's what a building society attracts.
Right.
How do we take the brand up a little bit? How do we take it up a little bit to white collar? And I said, well, leave it with me. So anyway, a good buddy of mine had been doing a similar thing, lifting the brand persona from working class to middle white collar. And I said, how did you do it? He said, we did it overnight by using Billy Connolly, the English comedian or Scottish comedian.
Yeah.
And he said, wherever he is in the world, we just give him, $1.5 million. We fly in, do the ads wherever he might be in the world, and then we fly out again, and that's it. He got an easy $1.5 million. We basically got a year's worth of ads. I said, okay. So therefore, we did a research survey and just asked, who did they think would be a good spokesperson for the Building Society? I was hoping that it might be an Australian TV star, because that would be easy to get.
Yeah, I would think Crocodile Dundee, some.
Yeah. Well, I thought so
one of
too.
the Helmsley brothers or Helmsworth brothers or whatever.
Exactly. Well, Paul Hogan, the Crocodile Dundee guy. I mean, he's funny, so I thought he'd be on the list, and he would have been a lot easier. And as it turned out, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, and Jerry Seinfeld came out on the top. And I thought, what have I done? I've just dug a hole for myself, as if you're going to get those guys to. Anyways, it's turned out I flew over to New York Los Angeles, and met with George Shapiro, which he's been Jerry's manager for 1,000 years. And I just said to him, look, we just want, Jerry to take the piss out of other banks, basically, take the mickey out of them and be him. And that's what got it across the line. It was not the money. I mean, as it turned out, he's got more money than God, so he didn't do it for the money. And I asked him actually when he did say yes, and it took 6 months, by the way. It wasn't, I'd make it sound simple. It was 6 months worth of me being a nuisance. And when I met him in New York for the first time to go through all the scripts and what we were going to do, I said, mate, you've got more money than God. Why would you say yes to this thing, And he said, well, 2 reasons. I like the Australian sense of humor. You're pretty sarcastic and, quirky, and, basically I enjoy that sort of humor. And he said, the second reason I said yes is because I thought if I don't say yes, you'd never go away. So persistence beats intelligence.
Hey, sometimes that's what it takes, Like I always, I'm always afraid to annoy people or pester them or whatever. But what I've learned with dealing with some people, especially in the detailing industry, like some of the brands or the people that run the brands or whatever, when I'm trying to either get them to come on the show or maybe do something for the show in the form of, we want to do a giveaway or we want to do something, could we get some stuff? And that's the one thing that they've all told me is like, look, like I'm super busy. I get 1 million emails and text messages a day from everybody and anybody and whatever I'm dealing with, getting towels from, China and Asia or whatever. I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that. Like, you just have to, if I don't reply to you within a couple hours, text me again, email me again, and just keep going and keep going and keep going. So yeah, sometimes you have to do that to kind of show up on the list of priority, because otherwise you do it once, they get 100 emails in a day, and now your email's gone. They'll never get to you. And sometimes it just takes that, like, okay, throw it in the towel, I'm gonna let you do it. So.
Well, I mean, look, and I'm sure you're the same too. We're both, probably typical entrepreneurs, and most of your listeners or viewers would be the same thing. You have a roller coaster ride when you open up your own business. It's not a merry-go-round. If you want to get on the merry-go-round, go and get a job. But if you own your own business, then it's hills and valleys. And throughout all of that time, you develop, I guess, a never give up attitude. And so, I have to say, my 6 millennials, I don't think they've listened to me yet. I think 3 of them have got a mortgage, and the other 3 are still, just having a girlfriend. We've got 5 boys and 1 girl. So 3 of them are married with a mortgage and the others aren't. The ones with the mortgage all of a sudden start to listen to me, because they go, oh, Dad, those ideas that you've got to increase sales, could you give me 1 or 2 of them? I know I haven't listened to you for 20 years. But the ones who don't have a mortgage, they don't give a shit what I do for a living, I don't think. So And so, pretty much my attitude has been just keep persisting until they say absolutely no. And that normally will open doors. Just never, ever, ever, ever give up.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's a great thing. Well, listen, John, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I'm not sure what time it is there in Australia. Wait, let me guess. It's 5 p.m. here. I'm gonna say it's like 7 o'clock there.
Close, only an
AM.
hour out, 10 to 8. So as I'm going to be having caffeine, you'll be probably heading to the refrigerator for that beer.
Yeah. I'm gonna actually. I think the wife is cooking dinner, so we're gonna go grab some dinner. But listen, I listen. I appreciate you for doing this. Thanks to Jen for setting this up. I wasn't sure when she first reached out, and then like I said in the beginning, I mean, it's just right now is kind of a time where not only myself, but some people that I'm talking to are just struggling with how to market their business and how to get it in. And I thought, like, hey, this might be a cool thing to do, and maybe somebody will get some ideas. Maybe they'll use the ideas of do a giveaway kind of deal. Maybe somebody's gonna be like, hey, you know what, the vacation thing seems like that's a great deal, so hopefully they'll reach out to you for that. um, but if anybody wants to follow up more with you, if anybody wants to learn a little bit more about you, where's the best place for them to go? I mean, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you have. And then
Yeah.
I will, in the show notes, I will put the vacation website. I will put your the Institute of, I'm saying it wrong again, right? It's the
Mhm.
wow, and
Yeah, that's right. Yep. The Institute of
it's the
Wow.com.
Institute of Wow. Okay. I'll put that in there and everything like that. But, for people that are listening right now, if they want to pause for a second and pull out their phone and look you up, how do they find you? Where do they go?
Yep, sure. Well, look, in terms of the vacation promotion, which out of all of the things that I have mentioned in this interview, if they really want to turn the dial quickly, then that would be, in my view. I know it sounds self-serving because I make money out of the vouchers, but
Yeah.
I could easily point you in another direction where I make money as well. There's no doubt it is the Michael Jordan of all of our package promotions. What I decided to do some years ago, because I came from the corporate world where I was doing this stuff for McDonald's and KFC and 7-Eleven and places like that, they would pay me money, and the Greater Building Society, for example, they would pay me money for advice because they had an advertising team to actually implement my advice. What I found with smaller businesses, they don't have a team to implement. And so giving them advice was silly because they'd say, oh, JD, that's a great piece of advice and we'll get to that. But of course, guess what? They got caught in their business. They never got to it. So what
Exactly.
we did a few years ago is we swapped everything to packaged promotion. So for example, if you wanted to attract people with $1 million prize, we can get $1 million out of the insurance company for $23,000. Okay. And so therefore all of those TV shows you see, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or Deal or No Deal, the TV network doesn't give that money away. That's what we call an insured prize. And that prize is given away by an insurance company. And you pay the insurance company a premium based on the difficulty of the questions. Okay. So what we did is that we just packaged all those things together. And what we do is provide to businesses now a done for you package. And the vacation one is probably the absolute number one in terms of, working. And if anyone's interested in that, just give me an email. Just flick me an email, john@theinstituteofwow.com. So if you shoot an email to me at john@theinstituteofwow.com, I'll make sure that you're not paying $97 a voucher, you pay $32 a voucher. And just to put that in perspective, you're mentioning a little while ago, would you use that just for the $2,000, car detailing?
Yeah.
What I would suggest you do is that, just like McDonald's, if you buy one Happy Meal, you get one toy. You buy 4 Happy Meals, you get 4 toys. And there's a logic to that, okay? And the supermarket chains down under have copied McDonald's. They've said here in Australia, for every $30 you spend, you get a Lego toy or whatever it may be. So that means if you spend $60, you get 2 Lego toys. What I would strongly suggest to any car detailer, whether it's the vacations or any other giveaway, and that is you link it to a spend requirement. So you would say, listen, for every $1,000 you spend with me on car detailing, I will give you a free vacation to Vegas, New York, San Diego, wherever it might be. So that means if they were going to spend $1,800, guess what? They'll now spend $2,000 because they'll get a second voucher.
Right. Gotcha.
So don't tie it to just a high end $2,000 or $3,000 car detailing, because all the people underneath that, you've essentially ignored them, and
Right. Yeah.
they're going to put their hand up and basically say, what about me? What about me? So what I would suggest you do is that you would actually say, look, for every X dollars you spend, I will give you the Happy Meal toy, which means if you spend twice those X dollars, you get 2 vouchers.
Yeah. No, that's not bad. I hope none of my clients listen to this, because some of them do 2 cars at a time or 3 cars at a time. I'd be like, yeah. No. That's a good idea though, to kind of do it as a almost on a points. You get so many points, you get a voucher. Or spend so many spend so many dollars, you get a voucher, versus buy this product and get, because then that might, they might come in for an $800 service, and if you got it at 1,000, you might be able to add on an extra $200 just to get them there. To get them, they'll pay the extra 200 to get.
What though? I mean, a lot of people. The way I look at it is this: is that if I said to you, give me $32 and I'll give you more clients than you could ever poke a stick at, then you would gladly, you give me 32. This is a slot machine.
Yeah.
For $32, you've got the hottest Happy Meal toy in the country. And so therefore, don't be greedy. If you're getting it for 30, I mean, what I normally say if I'm speaking at a conference on stage, I say, it doesn't matter what the conference is, whether it's restaurants or car detailers, I'll just say to them, who thinks a 10% discount is going to move the dial? Okay. And nobody puts their hand up, because everyone knows that with Groupon being 50% off, nobody's ever going to react to 10%. I said, how about if I give you something that's worth just 10%? But it's worth $1,000. So it'll cost you just 10% of your sale price, but it's worth $1,000. Who thinks that might work? And of course, everyone puts their hand up. So say, for example, if you get the voucher for $32 and you're selling something for $320, all you're doing is a 10% discount, but you're turning a 10% discount into rocket fuel, because no one's going to come and buy your product for $32 or $320, but they will come and buy your product most likely if you're giving them something when they spend $320 that's worth $1,000.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, for sure. Well, listen, it's a lot. It's a lot to digest. I mean, I've kind of got some ideas on how I want to maybe implement this. I do want to talk to you a little bit more about the vacation thing, because I think that might be something that maybe we can do or offer. So yeah, man, I mean, you listen, you're giving me a lot of different, other than AdWords, Facebook, Instagram, ideas to kind of think and to think about. And realistically, I feel like they're tried and true. I mean, they're the things that go back to, the beginning of advertising or the beginning of marketing.
It goes back to the green stamps. I mean, probably as a child, you might remember your mum and dad. The stamp. It's just basically a digital version of what used to work on paper. I mean, you used to go into a supermarket, and for every $10, you got a stamp, and you lick the stamp and put it onto a saver sheet. Well, those days are gone. But I
remember.
And those. One thing that might be interesting before we do close up, and that is that we have a client here in Australia who's a hardware business, and he's got a reasonable hardware shop. It's probably, I guess, a quarter of a football field in terms of the size of it. So it's not just a little corner hardware store, but it is small compared to the Costco style, hardware business. And he's across the road from one called Bunnings. Now, that won't mean anything to anyone in America, but Bunnings in Australia is the hardware Costco. Okay, so it's like Costco. It's the size of a suburb, right? He's got this thing sitting opposite him, and he's got his smaller hardware store literally across the road. And he didn't plan it that way. He actually set up his hardware store, and then 3 or 4 years later, this gigantic 40-ton gorilla set up across the road from him, right? So guess what? He's using the free vacation as a tool to stay alive. And he's one of our number one customers, because there's a method to the madness of the $32. I know that if I provide it to someone for $32, if it happens to be on a podcast or webinar, then if they follow our instructions and do it properly, there's a good chance they'll be back in 6 months' time for more. So the whole idea is to, and they'll get the same deal. It doesn't go back up to 97. They get the same deal. He's one of those. And so therefore, he said to me, he said, I've never seen anything like it. He said, they give it away. You get a free vacation for every $1,000 you spend in his hardware store. He said he knows the manager of the of the Costco store across the road. And the manager said to him, we would have 6 months worth of committee meetings trying to work out how to beat you. Had you gone down the price discounting path, we would beat you in 5 minutes. So it's a chance to beat the 40-ton gorillas, because they just cannot possibly make a decision within 6 months. You'll be up and running within 24 hours.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, and again, I mean, the cost cutting or the price cutting, they would win because they're buying in so much bulk that they're getting it at such a crazy good deal anyways, that they could definitely undercut
this guy told me he was up
smaller guys.
450% within 2 months. I said, you've got, I thought he was BSing. I said, no, look, I think I'm okay at this stuff, but I'm not David Copperfield. You cannot possibly up 450. And he's a bit of a larrikin, and so therefore I thought he was stretching it. But no, he absolutely, and he gave me a wonderful video testimonial, because I said to him, well, if that's the truth, I want to get you on Zoom straight away, whilst he was still high. And he said, 450% within 2 months. He said basically what was happening is that people were coming into the hardware store and spending $710 or $720, and then when they saw the signage and the offer, spend $1,000, you get a vacation, straight away they looked for something else that was $250.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. No, listen, like I said, I am so glad to have you on. It's given me some different thought processes to try and figure out my marketing woes. I think it definitely proves that, sometimes maybe going back to tried and true, it worked for so many years, and a lot of the digital is probably, using that guideline, but we've just become so digital, in our social media advertising and marketing and stuff like that we kind of forget, what works. And a lot of times if it ain't broke,
look, the thing is that, everyone now realizes that probably 80%, if not more, of their budget is going to be spent on digital marketing. The platform doesn't really matter. I mean, it does. I'm a bit silly to say that carte blanche. I mean, obviously it matters, because if you're after middle management, then LinkedIn is probably going to be for you. If you're after small to medium sized businesses, maybe Facebook might be fit. If you're after consumers, and obviously Instagram and Facebook, and that's who your car detailers are after, of course. So it's really, really simple to say, okay, Facebook, you pour the lookalike audience in, it'll spit out the audience for you. But the thing is, the platform's one thing. Really, if you don't have the idea in the first place, if you don't have the offer in the first place, it doesn't matter how many times you put that on TV or Facebook, it's not going to work. And so I keep on saying to people, look, just don't spend so much time on choosing the platform. That's easy. That's a 5-minute job. Choose your time on coming up with the creative, the actual offer, because whether you put it on TV or letterbox brochure or it's on Facebook, it's the offer that makes the difference.
Right, exactly. Yeah. No, listen, John, appreciate it, man. I've had a blast. I look forward to maybe talking to you again. Maybe I try to implement a few of these, and maybe we can do a where am I now, kind of deal with you down the lines and everything. So yeah, you really given me a lot to think about. So I really appreciate this. Thank you for your time, and enjoy your, it's Wednesday there. Enjoy your Wednesday.
Yes, Tuesday.
Or no, Tuesday.
Yes.
Tuesday. I'm sorry. Tuesday. I'm already thinking I'm on Tuesday.
We're a day ahead, which means if you're betting on the horses, just let me know. I'll tell you which horse won. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, that's what I always ask my Australian detailer friends, like, hey, what are the lottery numbers? And they never tell me. I mean, they're assholes. What can I say? Or cunts, as you guys love to say. And I love saying that word because I can when I'm talking to an Australian.
I missed that. Which word was that? Oh, yes.
Cunt. Can't really say that a lot here, but with my Australian friends, it doesn't seem to be a problem.
I don't think it's everyday vernacular, but when they're excited, yeah.
Oh no, not absolutely. Yeah, yeah, but it's fun. It's fun every now and then. So, um, all right, John, you have a great day, and
My pleasure.
it was great
My
talking to
pleasure.
you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. Hey.